Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. It's me, Bobby Light, and the one and only Scott Green here for the recap of Week 12, but more importantly, the playoff spectacular. This is what we did last year that really kicked off the pod. And I'll be honest with you, I was looking forward to this since like Week 6 when I first talked to Scotty about it. And Scotty, thank you, man, for coming in and gracing us with your knowledge and your expertise with running numbers. And hopefully this goes swimmingly. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for having me. Excellent year on the pod. Love seeing everyone every week. And let's get into it.
All right. Well, we'll go quickly through it. We're gonna go ahead and just check the scores this week because that was a quick. We'll do that quickly because everyone's here for the one and only spectacular. So just going quick. Look at Dell, of course, playing defense. I don't know how he does it, but he just does it every week. Gets it done.
He can't play against Dell when you needed to put up those points, Bob.
I know. It's horrible.
Those points.
This is my worst score of the year. Lowest score of the year. Tony B still continuing to cruise along here. Got some good play by Saquon. Dirty Randy's got Mahomes now working, so he'll be interesting to see in the playoffs. Spider eked it out versus Joe. That's a huge win, and you'll see here in the Monte Carlos how that changes a lot because that's a 6-6 matchup then instead of 5-7, 7-5. La Flama did put up some good points, but Ham, you came in and as Dante said, you were the only one that really get going here. And then of course Dante actually ended up getting a bunch of points at the end there and took out the Nino. So that's where we sit right now. The standings we'll look. These are current standings. As you can see, Tony is all happy with his X by his name. So he's been talking a lot of shit lately. I'm still in the basement, in the cellar. And you're right in the middle, Ham. So,
I'm comfy.
You're comfy. Yeah, so here's what's going to happen. So, Scotty, you and I were chatting right before we started this, and I think what's best is we'll just go straight up and look at your presentation that you've you've combined 50 sims right here. There's 50 simulations.
We got 50 sims on the Monte Carlo, and there's a couple things that are absolute. And they are that Tony's in the playoffs. He's guaranteed himself a spot, and Dell has guaranteed himself a bye. And other than that, everything is kind of up for grabs. The only other person that has a chance for a bye is Dante, and about 10% of the time he got a bye. And Kevin, he can get up to 9 wins to match Tony, but if he does, he loses the head-to-head. And then if it's a 3-way, he's so far behind in points, I think by 128, that it's just difficult for him to match them in points. But yeah, so those two are the absolutes, and then everything else is pretty much, everything has a chance. Even La Flama Blanca, he has the longest odds, but one time out of the 50 sims, he snuck in there. So
nice. Well, my question was to you too before. You did account for our rule, my Bobby Light rule, the points by, as you said, you did the top 5 guys after every sim, and then you averaged the last player, right? You said the 6th player, and then you looked at the points. If he was out or he was higher, then he'd stay in, and so on. So you did account for that there. So just in case anyone's wondering. So Scotty, your takeaway from this real quick. What are you looking at? And then we'll jump into your Monte Carlo.
So I would say, so the top 6, 44% of the time, those top 6, someone else knocked one of them out. So almost half the time, one of the bottom 4 guys, at least right now, are going to get in there. Right. Surprisingly to me, Paul was the one who seemed to be the one to knock off either Jake or Kevin, it appeared in most cases. It was Paul in the Sims at least who knocked him off. But you and Paul are right there in terms of points for If I were you and Paul, I would probably be rooting for me to get in the top five,
Right.
just because I'm the leading point scorer, and you want a three-way tie for that fifth spot, so that Kevin gets knocked out,
Right. Because he has the
and
least
then
points. Right. Yeah.
your best chance, yeah, is to go up against Kevin. But there's an opportunity for you guys to outscore any of them, even me. There's still room in there.
Two games left. A lot of playing time here. 2 games, and some guys are coming back. I got some guys now off of buys and injury. So I had the worst week of my year, and now I'm gonna have the best couple of weeks here. So and get some little help. But like you said, I think what we're cheering for then, obviously, like you said, is a 3-way tie for 5th and 6th. So that way the points are already taken care of there. Now, my question as we jump to this, excuse me, explain. We have our Monte Carlo that we ran. We did this last year. And as you can see on this, we have some numbers filled in already. Scotty, if you want to go ahead and just do a quick, brief overview of this.
So in the top left there is everything through this week, and then that top right is the sims for the final 2 weeks. The final 2 weeks, they're the summaries of week 13 and week 14, which are below. So if you run a sim real quick.
All right. And this is Elders run it. Okay.
There you go.
Yep.
You can hit F5 too, I think, and they'll refresh all the formulas.
All right. There's a sim reel there. Okay.
All right. So in this sim, Tony came in first place. Mike has the second bye. Let's see who's in it. 8 wins for Let the Boy Watch gets him in. 8 wins for Spider gets him in. And then it's head-to-head Dirty Randy versus Joe. And, so it's Dirty Randy versus Joe at 7 wins head-to-head. And I'm pretty sure Joe has the head-to-head. Actually, scroll down a little bit because they play. That's important. Scroll up.
Sorry.
Right at the top of week 13, they played.
Yep.
And Joe took him 133 to 131. So Joe has the head-to-head. That means Joe's in. That means Joe's the 5th. And then the bottom 5 are Jake, me, you, Keith, and Paul. And go up to the top, and we'll see the total points for. And out of those 5, who has it? Looks like Ham at 2192.
Yeah, so
barely outscoring the Nino by 40. So I would get that 6th spot.
Right, and if I run it again, there we go ahead and
this one, yeah. Dell got the top spot, Tony got the second bye, and then we are at 3 at 8. So that makes it clear that those 3 8-win teams are in, and then the bottom 5 is Dirty Randy. Let's see, he has 2105, and that is the most. So then Dirty Randy is the 6th in that scenario.
And so we're going to send this out to the group here also, just so you guys can play around with it if you wanted to. But I think the main thing is, as we mentioned, in these next 2 weeks here, the matchups are very interesting because they're actually, the head-to-heads, as Dante hates, actually do mean quite a bit more. Because not only just points, but like the Joe and Dirty Randy is like a huge matchup this week. So we might actually know. I would say that we might know a lot more concrete what's the playoff picture is going to be like after this week, just because of that matchup. Correct?
Right, and Joe also plays me, so Joe's actually in a pretty good place, at least in terms of that he controls his own destiny. He plays me in week 14 and Jake in week 13. He can win them both, and then he would own the head-to-head against both of us.
Right.
So that head-to-head is pretty much only good if 2 teams are tied. If there's 3 or more, pretty much the head-to-head's almost always going to get thrown out, and then just go points for. But Joe's in a good spot. If he wins these next 2 weeks, he'll have the head-to-head against the 2 teams ahead of him, and I think he can sneak in. And then when that happens, it starts to become a little more tough for you or Paul to sneak in on that 6. So you would probably be rooting against Joe and looking for some 3-way ties there for the end of the top 5.
But more importantly, I just need to score points. I mean, as much as I want to root for people,
That's right.
scoring points is
Putting up more than 109 is important.
Yeah, and the last week before that was not great either. So here I was tooting my own horn how I'm going to be able to get enough points, and then I just laid 2 eggs for the most part in the last couple of weeks. Scotty, thanks for putting so much time into doing these. Again, we're going to send this out for people just to check it out, but I wouldn't have had it any other way just to have you on this to do it, because it's always fun, the what ifs. And I know people aren't super into all that unless if they have to do it themselves. So the fact that you can just, hand it to them and they can play with it makes a big difference. You have any final notes before we get going here? Because I know we'll make this quick, but we're just ready for the playoffs, I think.
There was a couple out of some of the sims I ran. There were a couple of interesting ones. One of the most interesting ones, Kevin and Jake were both out. And Keith was 30 points from getting in. Nino took the last slot with Joe. It didn't happen. It happened one time. And then Let the Boy was left out in 1 out of the 50 sims. Keith got in 1 out of the 50 sims. But it's all possible. It's all out there. You got to finish strong, and we'll see what happens. One thing I am, Tony is looking like he's 90% to get that bye, and then all is 2 points, and then we're back-to-back perennials. Holding the trophy. So,
oh boy,
could that happen?
That would be an interesting, a way to end it for one of those two is to have them match up in the finals in the championship. That way, that we can have at least one of them get off the trophy. Scotty, thanks.
Little bitch is already planning his spot in the Mike Dell Memorial third place game. So he's already in there.
Is there a rule against playing defense in the playoffs? I don't think you get the luxury of So scouting your team ahead of time when you don't know who it's going to be. Again, Scotty, thank you, buddy, for coming on. I really appreciate it. And hey, everybody, good luck. Scotty, we'll see you out there. Take care.
Week 13. See you, boys.